So firstly, thank you so much for everyone attending this session. So we are conducting a webinar on Chandrayaan 3 and seeing how it is a case study for innovation and entrepreneurship. So we have Mehul Bhatt, Amit, and Deep as our speaker today. So we'll be deep diving into some of the lessons that we learned from Chandrayaan 3 in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship. Right. So before we actually get into that, we thought we'll just give you, we'll just go through some of the brief about Chandrayaan 3, the history of lunar mission of India, the objective of Chandrayaan 3, and what are some of the discoveries that is done so far. Right. So to start with the history, I think like most of you already know this. In 2008, India launched Chandrayaan 1, which orbited around moon for almost 1 year. And it had a small probe, which was deliberately made to crash on South Pole, and it relieved a lot of data. And in 2019, we launched Chandrayaan 2, and this orbiter is still circulating around the moon, but the lander and rover, unfortunately, they crashed. And with not giving up attitude, India again launched Chandrayaan 3 in July 15th, 2023, which is basically a replica of Chandrayaan 2's lander and rover. Yeah, so this landed successfully on the moon. So the main objective behind launching this Chandrayaan 3 was one, obviously to demonstrate that India's capability in the space research and smooth landing on the moon, and to conduct some scientific experiments and study the lunar environment and resources. To study these and to make these experiments, Chandrayaan 3 carried 14 payloads with it. So these were designed to measure various aspects on the lunar environment, like temperature, the chemistry, the meteorology, everything. So they had a lot of 14 payloads. Some of them were like chastity, which can measure the temperature, LRA, which can measure the distance between the Earth and the Moon, and APXS to analyze the chemical composition, and LIPS, which can determine the abundance and isotopic ratio of different elements that is present. So these were some of the objectives. So once the landing was smoothly done on August 23rd, so these were some of the updates that Chandrayaan 3 was able to give us so far. So one of the main update was the presence of sulfur. So the payload called LIPS confirms the presence of sulfur on the lunar surface of the moon, right? So the sulfur is, so this basically says that there might be some volcanic eruption or a form of life that existed in the past in the lunar surface. And APXS also detects some of the presence of the minor elements, and then it also says that there might be some plasma content and all that. And the payload also determines the temperature. It says that in the night, the Celsius can go like to minus 156, and in the daytime it can come up to till 121. It's like extreme. It's either extreme cold or extreme hot. Yeah, so these are some of the updates that we have received from Chandrayaan 3 so far. And now what comes next is the survival challenge. So we have already crossed one lunar day, that is 14 days, and we are expecting one more lunar night, that is 14 more days. So if it survives for 14 more days, we might get more data. But the problem here is the south pole of the moon has more cold traps. That means the area that may never receive any sunlight. And they also have some areas where they receive sunlight for a longer period of time. So surviving in such extreme conditions is again a challenge. It is challenging because our Chandrayaan 3 does not contain any heater. So surviving in such a longest and cold nights in minus 156 degrees Celsius without a heater is a challenging thing. So our probes are currently under sleep mode and expected to be awake on 22nd September. That is the next lunar day. So why heaters for survival basically? So heaters keep the hardware at the sustainable operating temperature. If you see the many previous moon missions, right, like yeah, you can see the Chanji 3, a Chinese mission, they had 4 heaters and it survived for like a long time. But CST do not have any heaters due to various reasons, like they're expensive, they might cause some risk or pose some safety hazards and technical failures. So these are some of the reasons that there's no heaters on our Chandrayaan 3, but there is some hope. So maybe before we discuss what are the chances and why do we think it will survive, I think we'll just jump on to some of the entrepreneur lessons from Chandrayaan 3, where our speakers can just dive in and give their whatever they want to talk about. So the first question that comes is setting ambitious goals. So after the failure of Chandrayaan 2, India could have reduced its aim and gone for landing on equatorial region, which is easier and the chances of success would be higher. But we didn't do that. we were more ambitious and wanted to land on the South Pole, which is again a trickier part, right? So do you think that entrepreneurs also need to have a similar mindset and they also should follow similar path? I think Mehul, we would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure, yeah, definitely. So there's a reason it's called a moonshot, right? So moonshot means, you aim really high. And, the reason behind that for practical purposes when it comes to an individual, goal settings or as an entrepreneur or for your startups, right? The idea is if you keep your goal really high, then even if you don't achieve 100% of those, you still would achieve much better than if you would have kept the goal lower, right? So that's the reason it's called moonshot, right? The original idea of the moonshot has come from the first manned mission to the moon, in 1960s, where it was considered really difficult to send people all the way to moon because frankly speaking, as a humanity, we were very behind, from a technological perspective. But still, because of the Cold War, essentially, uh, you know, uh, United States decided that hey, we'll go to the moon by the end of the decade, and that was considered as a moonshot, right? Oh my God, can you really do that, right? So yeah, definitely, the moonshot mindset helps you to kind of keep larger goals. And when you have a larger goals, you automatically start thinking about instead of the organic growth, how would I enable, bigger growth, right? So let's say if you are, doing some X amount of productivity or revenues, and if you say, okay, next year I will increase by 10%, that might just happen because of inflation also, right? But if you say, hey, next time I want to do 10 times, now you have to think outside of the box and do something really different in order to achieve those moonshot goals, right? So there are a lot of parallels we'll be able to draw between, the entire Chandrayaan, 3 mission and entrepreneurial journeys. So yeah, absolutely.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. So the next question that comes is working as a team. So one of the visual that comes to our mind when we think about Chandrayaan 3 success is the ISRO head, the project director, and the director from various departments announcing their success and the roles together. So what are some of the core ingredients or consideration while designing a team for success in a startup? I think Amit, you can answer this for us.
Definitely. Let me try to take that up. I'll start with something interesting. So this was around 2017. This was when there's I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to look at it, but there's a very interesting blog called Wait What Why. This is by a guy called Tim Urban. So this guy takes up very interesting topics and very, very interesting approach to explain them. So this guy in 2017 was explaining what Elon Musk is doing at that time, and all of us know the different companies that he has been part of. So yeah, one of the questions that kind of got addressed at that time was the kind of team that he was setting up, and which brings out one point very clearly. The kind of vision that as a team you need to have. The clarity of that vision is very important, is very crucial. And in 2017, all of Elon Musk's initiatives were very, 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 very small companies themselves. They were experimenting, they were failing. But the clarity of vision that was present there, that's something to be pondered about, to be thought about. So that's definitely something which I feel is important. The clarity of vision, the cultural fit amongst the initial team members who are going to become a part of your core startup. That's definitely very important. Second is, in my belief, the different skill sets. So as a startup, in my experience of what I'll just quote something. So we had at some time in my professional journey tried to set up a new business unit. When we were doing that, we while doing the after doing the initial base work, which is what is our business plan, what is it that we want to aim for, definitely a moonshot like Mehul mentioned. So those things were in place. The next question was, what kind of team to set up. And then we had to find people representing operations, technology. In our case, network was very important. So network, sales. So you need that kind of diversity also to be in place to ensure that, the capabilities are complementary and you are setting up yourself for success. And lastly, I believe there's a lot of transparency which is needed. So the leaders, whoever are identified, they need to put up that culture. But yes, that culture needs to be there, that everyone needs to be very open, very transparent about the problems that they are facing, the approach that they need to take to address those problems. And yes, something that we have seen quite apparently in FloCareer, which is, financial discipline. So that I think is another important consideration. So the team which is set up should always be cognizant about those kind of aspects. So yeah, that's my little bit about the different things which come together to set up a successful team which can drive startups.
Yeah,
And
that
remember,
was
the
great.
team means set of people, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But the most critical part also is the people focused approach, right? If you don't have people focused approach, I have seen all sort of two startups that I have seen. One was really friendly, people centric, right? And then the second one was relatively toxic, so to speak, right? And that works when there is a lot of money involved. It works, but that's not always the case, right? So when challenges are faced by the teams, if you have a people centric approach, you're definitely gonna get successful, and it will be less stressful along the journey, right? So you look at any research, anything, it just very obvious, right? That the team which is supportive for each other, right? Where people feel valued, they feel noticed, that's the key for the innovation, right? If that's not there, you are more of a procedural, right? So if you want to go from the procedural perspective to moonshot perspectives, that can't be done without people, right? A lot of movies also around this. One movie, I'm forgetting the name, but NASA's Apollo mission, there was a black lady who was calculating the orbits with manually. At that time there were not a lot of computers, so people had to manually, the genius mathematicians had to manually calculate all these things. And it shows the people aspect of the whole story, right? So yeah, team is people at the end of the day.
Got it. Yeah, I think this comes with a lot of experience. Yeah. From both of you. Yeah, thank you so much, Mehul and Amit. Yeah, so the next question would be for about learning from the failure. So Chandrayaan 2 failed to land successfully due to some multiple reasons, right? But Chandrayaan 3 was designed with a similar approach. But also they paid a lot of attention to any potential sources of failures, and so many system and processes were put in place so that this is handled carefully. So in a startup where we have limited exposure to such potential failure cases, how do we design the process so that we deliver the success in the limited attempts, so to get a client or whatever that is? So I think, Deep, if you can answer this question for us.
Yeah, Deep, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry, yeah, thanks, Pratisha. So yeah, so whatever limited experience I have with this IT startup, right? I think everyone who is part of audience would agree that whether you like it or not, you will become part of QA, right? No matter which team you are, as soon as you deal with the products from FloCareer perspective or any IT product perspective, right? When you're giving demo to the either to client or to panel or to respective stakeholder. So I think continuous testing is something which is very integral part. I think Mehul would agree that our part of the process, whenever someone joins, we request them go through the whole process on his or her own, right? How the candidate experience, panel experience, and then you will find something which you never, which someone has not found, or you'll come up with the idea which nobody has thought yet. That's the beauty of startup, and as you know, our team is so agile, development team, which will be implementing things so fast. I remember how we implemented the complete bot interview, because VisionNet gave us some feedback that we were on the spot at their premises, and I think within 1 or 2 days, the whole UI got changed, with such a. So I think there are multiple key criteria. The continuously predicting what can go wrong, and still there will be surprises. You have such a good, talented, agile team. To accommodate those changes in real time. The knowledge sharing culture, we have Idea Lab. We initially we did not have such kind of platform, but all the small ideas which came from the team, right, starting from chat support or auto scheduling. Everyone involved, would know, okay, let's say, how critical let's say right now, I was just looking at the monster feedback before joining this meeting, and I think every one of you should look at it, how the enhanced feedback feature is helping right now. So the monster panel is just typing 3 to 4 keyword, and it is giving us detail. The panel is happy, client is happy, university is happy, candidates are happy. Wow, this is making sense. So I think that this kind of culture where you invite people to come up with the idea and you implement that, on like I think that definitely helps you. There is no guarantee you won't fail, but this can at least minimize the unpredictability as much as possible. That's my point of view.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So in lines with the same question, right? So Chandrayaan 3 is a success story of persistence. What is the importance of persistence in the life of an entrepreneur? I think Mehul, you would be the best one to answer this.
Yeah, I mean, there are two aspects there, right? I mean, when you talk about the entrepreneurial journey, people have two different thought processes. One is, fast failure, and another is persistence, right? But definitely the persistence, pays off. Once you are convinced about your idea, once you are convinced that there is real market for that, right? And once you are convinced that whatever you are building has a need, people need those things, right? In those cases, maybe your approach might be fine-tuned. Maybe the timing, you might have to wait out a little bit more for the right timing when the market is ready to use your product in a widespread environment. So persistence definitely helps in those regards, right? And in our own journey, right, both personal and FloCareer, right? Startups are more like marathons, they are not sprints. So and bunch of us also ran half marathon together and trained for it. So we all know that, right? You have to make sure that you are persistent for 2.5 hours to cross that finish line after 21 kilometers. Around 6-7 members of our team ran half marathon a few years back. So we know that very well. So yeah, persistence is a key for success, and you need to ensure that you kind of find different ways to solve the same problem that you are facing.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah. So before we shoot the next question, so from audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. We'll pick it up at the end and we'll answer it. So please, yeah, your questions, please put it in the chat. Yeah, so our next question is about innovation. So in addition to a lot of inter-country collaboration that we see in space these days, we also see a lot of competition at the same time, right? So what are some of the ingredients or core ingredients that we should ensure as a country or organization that is able to maintain a lead in this constant race? So I think, yeah, Deep or Amit, if you can pick up this question.
Oh, yeah. So I think this is again, connecting the point what I mentioned earlier, right? Again, in startup, you are forced to innovate. You are forced to invest in R&D, right? I think that's pretty interesting challenge where there is a limited resources, you have limited kind of availability of the good talent, and then you even right now we're in situation at any stage startup would be in that situation, right? That's where again the same kind of what engineering team did, that exercise of the how to involve ChatGPT, integrate with our platform, and kind of the new ideas which came out of that. So I think that continuous investment in R&D is must. We know the history in mankind where big brand have failed just because they did not predict the future. They did not invest enough in R&D. So I think there is no alternative to that. Everybody knows that. That's and yes, along with that come how talented team you have, right? Like that, there is no replacement to a good team member. The people, right? That's the biggest asset. So you create an environment where you foster innovation. You invite them for the come forward and give idea, and then you implement that, right? So I think apart from that adaptability, we have seen that we started with combination of sourcing plus interviewing at right point. We took the divergence. We are now completely focused on interviewing since 5-6 years. Right now in a situation where again more innovations is there. Let's say right now whatever small WhatsApp integration we did, and the how it really boosted our automation part. So with right environment, right brain, and that long-term vision, as Mehul mentioned, right? If the team members, everybody's aligned, you know that we are right now market leader in this space, right? And there is no alternative to automation and innovation. You can't keep throwing people in every problem, right? If you want to go on scale. So that's my thought. I think that's some of the key criteria.
Got it. Yeah, I
So
think we just
innovation shouldn't be interpreted only, in scientific perspective, or only engineering, or only pure science, or when you invent a bulb, that's only it is innovation. That's not. Everybody should be able to think about in their own respective domain, respective work, what little improvement you can do in your day-to-day life, right? Whether it's work or even your personal life, that would help you to do things better than what you used to do it yesterday, right? That's innovation, right? It's not necessary that people should not get this thought process that, hey, only if you go to the moon, that's the innovation, right? Innovation can be done in a day-to-day life, in small simple things that you are doing. Get better at Excel. You can do a lot of innovations in Excel itself, right? The kind of data that you are dealing with, or things that you are working on. So yeah, innovation should not be kind of considered as a big ticket item. It can be small innovations in daily life. That also works.
right. Yeah. Got it. Yeah, I think we just have last 5 minutes left. So maybe if we have any questions that has come up, we can just pick them up and then conclude. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can just feel free to ask them or put them in the chat.
And while that happens, I'll just on the previous question, just share a little bit of thought on that. So, from a startup perspective, the threats that they face, I mean, apart from, whatever they are doing and the control that they have on their internal doings, if you look externally, they're facing threats from other startups who can, very easily follow the concept that a startup has gotten into, or they also face threats from larger organizations who can also pick up the same, same business models. So for a startup, it becomes, highly important to keep innovating, right? Because you're facing other people who are in a very similar business space, or the others who can very easily get into that space, because by definition, a startup does not have the same kind of heft which other organizations enjoy. So for startups, like Mehul mentioned, constantly innovating, even those small things becomes very important. So yeah, that's a little bit of my perspective on
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So we don't have any questions in the chat section. So I think we can conclude.
Sure. Yeah.
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 Excellent.
Great. So I think
Thanks everyone for your time. And still, if we can probably wait a couple of minutes if there are more questions.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
On the last things about the innovation, maybe let me also add that how do you cultivate the culture of innovation, right? The culture of innovation would be, essentially helping team members to have that thought process that, hey, whatever you have been doing yesterday, right? Let's say some process that takes a lot of repetitive work, right? How do you make sure that you make your life easy while making the entire process more efficient, right? And helping people to kind of have that small wins and celebrating every small wins, right, will help people to continue doing the journey of little innovations, which week over week, as you make your process improvements, your product improvements, your platform improvements, right, it shows up eventually. And people also enjoy that. They see their idea being implemented, their idea being used, their idea being immediately go to the production, right? We just had a hackathon few weeks back, in fact, and today itself, Deep was praising the results of it, immediately showcasing how it is used and appreciated by all the stakeholders, right? So that you know you know impact of your work, which if it is visible, that's what motivates people, right?
Right.
So supporting each other, motivating each other on that, and celebrating small wins are absolutely critical for that innovation mindset and cultivating that culture.
Got it. Yeah. So in that note, to conclude on a good point, so will Chandrayaan 3 survive, right? So we all have hopes because China in 2019, they launched Chang'e 4 with no heaters, similar to Chandrayaan 3. And it is still orbiting around the moon and it was successful. And one more similar example is Bereshit from Israel. So they also launched a mission where the lunar mission where there was no heater again. So that is still successfully landed and functioning fine. So yeah, we all have hopes that Chandrayaan 3 will be reawakened on 22nd September and we'll get more data points from them.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
let's hope so. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you everyone for
All right.
joining.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks,
Yes.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.